Hello everyone, my name is Alex. I'm a 2000 rated over-the-board chess player, and in this series we're going from 1500 to 2000 elo in chess.com rapid games, where I'll be explaining my thought process as best as I possibly can for your education and entertainment. And today we're going to be playing the A3 Sicilian, otherwise known as the Mengarini Sicilian or the delayed wing gambit. And the entire point of it is to play b4 on move 2, sacrifice a pawn, allow the knight to take, go c3 with tempo, and take the entire center with the move d4. Now, there is many ways that black can go about this position. So if you're interested in more analysis after this game is done, then check out the playlist below with every game on my channel featuring the A3 Sicilian. But my opponent goes e6, which is it's a move. It's a move. So we're going to go bishop d3. And the reason we're going to go bishop d3 is because we're kind of waiting for black to play d5, which black does, which I believe is actually a mistake because we are going to play the move e5. And now you can see why we put the bishop on d3. The bishop's also useful on d3 because knight to f6 would, of course, hit the e-pawn, so we're just preemptively defending the e-pawn. And okay, queen to c7. And also, of course, we don't have a normal move like knight c3 to defend e4 because the c3 pawn is in the way. And knight to d2 can kind of weaken the c3 pawn. So it is a move, but it's a little bit risky sometimes. So, okay, let's go knight to f3. And we're ready to castle. And we're down a pawn, but black, well, it's essentially RC pawn for black's A and B pawns, right? The rest of it is symmetrical. But of course, we have this incredibly strong e5 pawn, which is kind of the whole point of the opening, at least the way that I like to play it. And also, we have a lot of pressure on the queen side because of the open lines. I mean, a move like knight to a3 is a good idea immediately, trying to go knight b5 and maybe getting to d6, for example. So I'm going to go knight to a3. Of course, it does weaken the c3 pawn, but I mean, there's no immediate way for black to go after that. And that looks like a blunder to me, because that does not stop knight to b5 at all. That does not stop knight to b5. And this is one of the reasons that this opening is really strong, because, yes, we've sacrificed 2 pawns for 1 pawn, essentially, if you guys see what I mean. But the problem is, well, for black, the open A file is actually really good for us because it makes it very hard for black to defend the b5 square. And normally bishop d7 is a better idea with the queen back on d8 supporting the rook. So the a6 does actually come with controlling the b5 square. Here, if the black queen moves, then knight to d6 check, and the king moves, and then we take on f7, and I mean, the game is basically over. So my opponent takes. Of course, we take the rook. We are now up in exchange. And we have a ton of pressure. So my opponent goes b4. Trying to... I don't know. I mean, it's not particularly scary. I think we can just take that. And after knight takes, we have bishop to b5 check. So knight c2 is not happening. We're also not going to lose our bishop, which is great because this is a very strong bishop. You also can't go bishop d7 blocking because of the pin. My opponent's playing incredibly fast here. And I mean, we're also playing fast, but we also have a winning position. My opponent does not have a winning position. So, okay. We have a few moves here. Castling is probably the easiest, but it's not the only option. We have queen to a4, applying more pressure and preparing bishop to a3 to try to win the knight. If something like queen a4, bishop e7, bishop a3 castles to break the pin, that looks like it survives for black. That looks like it survives. So to be honest, I'm just going to castle. There's maybe more accurate moves, but this is very simple, so I prefer this. Okay. I think offering a trade of bishops is a good idea, although bishop a3 is also quite good. I'll go bishop a3. That looks strong. And we're essentially just putting pressure on so many of the white pieces. My opponent castles, which of course he was going to do. And now we can go queen to a4. Continuing with the previous plan, trying to facilitate trades and bring the rook to c1. Which is a good idea. Which I think I don't see an issue with. We could go queen to b3, which is also a move. I think the queen is better on a4, though, because on a4, the queen supports the rook and hits the knight on c6, whereas on b3, I mean, it doesn't do anything extra. On b3, it's just hitting this b4 knight, which we're doing now. We're hitting everything, well, and protecting the rook, which is maybe useful. If my opponent goes bishop to d7, which is a move, of course, then I think I'll just trade rooks, bishop takes, and play a move like rook c1, supported by the bishop, which removes some back rank worries, pinning this knight to the queen. And I mean, all of our pieces, I mean, apart from this knight, but this knight's doing a good job of just holding down the fort. Yeah, we'll take. This could be a relatively quick game. My opponent is just blitzing all his moves out. Yeah, we don't have to worry about knight to d3 because we can take it. If rook c1, knight a2, we can just go rook to c2. Yeah, that's fine. And if knight back, we can take, bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes, and rook takes queen. So let's go rook c1. I'm expecting queen to b6. No, whoa. Well, that just loses. Bishop b4, you can't do this because of this. And if bishop takes, we have queen takes. Knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes. And then rook b7. And we're already up an exchange there, but we're winning even more material. Yeah, this looks winning. Let's take. Importantly, the black queen can't move with any kind of tempo. And you can win this, but I'm just going to take here. And, I mean, the game is over. My opponent has more time than he began with, and has not really done himself any favors. He resigns, and yeah, that's game. Okay. I mean, I will title this video something like A3, the move that crushes the Sicilian, or something along those lines. I don't know. But do you need a better advertisement for how good this opening is? Let's jump into the analysis. Let's see what the computer has to say. That was pretty brutal. So, a cheeky little 95.7% accuracy. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. So let's jump into it. E4, C5, A3, the Mengarini Sicilian, knight C6, and B4, the main line. Take, and knight takes B4. C3, kicking the knight back, and D4. And here, there are so many lines. There's so many lines. There's D5, which is one of the better lines after knight to A3. The knight's coming to B5. This is so hard for black to defend. There is D6, which I would say is one of the better lines for black to play. There's a knight to F6, which is not a particularly scary line because the black pieces just get absolutely swarmed in the center of the board, and this is pretty horrific, all things considered. Queen B6 has to be played here, so that you're threatening mate, and then Queen F3. I mean, I've never got this, to be fair, but most people either play E6, D6, or D5. Or E5, actually. Some people play E5. And here, this is just a pretty comfortable position. D5, normally knight to E7, D6, knight to C6, and then, like, the pawn is just lodged in there. The knight's coming in. And again, A6 can't be played, because after knight B5, take. Again, this is another way in which this knight comes via A3 into B5 into the dark squares, and there's very little that black can do about it in a lot of cases, because A6 isn't very effective. So, my opponent goes E6. We go bishop to D3. And most people go D5, which the computer doesn't love. Now, I would say the more resilient move is D6, and I've had this type of position in over-the-board game before. And here, I mean, I like the move F4 personally. The computer doesn't love it. It wants to now go D5, and after E5, go G6. But although the computer says that this is basically equal, I mean, personally, I really like these types of positions with white. For the pawn down, H4, H5, G4, knight F3. We can go queenside if we want. Bishop A3, offer a trade of the dark square bishops and try to exploit the dark squares. There's so many things we can do. But D5, E5, we take control of the dark squares. Here the best move is rook B8 or bishop D7. Or knight A5 or A6. I mean, they're just completely unnatural moves. The only one I'd say is natural is bishop d7, really. I'd say that's relatively natural, but here, I mean, white is still doing very well. h4, knight f3, very, very nice moves. He goes queen c7, which is odd. We go knight to f3. Computer slightly prefers knight to h3 to leave the option for queen to g4 open and queen to h5 open, because, I mean, the queen having access to the king side can be useful. A move like bishop to e7, for example, queen g4 could come in with some nice ideas of going after the g6 pawn. Sorry, the g7 pawn. But knight to f3, knight g to e7 is a mistake after knight to a3. And here I was expecting knight to g6, so that if knight to b5, and, I mean, even here, this is really, really bad. Queen b8 is the only move? What's wrong with queen d8? Of course, the point being that now knight d6 doesn't do anything. But the computer finds h4, threatening h5, knight e7, and knight d6, so the bishop doesn't defend. So the best move is bishop e7, h5, knight f8. And if h5 from black stopping me from going h5, then we can just take or go knight g5 or something. But this is horrific. This is horrific. King f7 is going to have to be played, and yeah. I've had many games go this way. Similar ways, by the way. But a6 is played, and that just doesn't help, because knight b5 anyway. And if the queen moves, then knight d6, king d7, knight f7, rook g8, material equality is restored. Black cannot castle. He's also going down 2 pawns, and actually even more material. Like a pawn and an exchange, and the king is stranded in the center, and the pieces can't develop properly. It's completely winning. My opponent plays probably the more resilient move. Whoa, what is going on? Wait, let me fix this. Okay, here we go. He plays the more resilient move, which is a b5. Rook a8, of course, and b4. And I just happily accept this pawn, because I'm like, well, now I'm just opening up lines against your king. I castle, which is the best move. Okay. My other consideration was queen to a4 and bishop to a3, which is also good. I don't think the move order matters too much. So bishop a3, castles, and queen a4. And, I mean, these moves should make sense. We're just applying as much pressure as we possibly can to the black pieces, right? Bishop d7. Also, remember, trades are in our favor. We're up an exchange, down a pawn. But if you were to remove every piece from this position and have, like, knight versus rook, this would be winning, most likely, for the white pieces, particularly because the king can just park itself on d3 or c3 or something. Guard the d-pawn, and the rook can go do the dirty work. But queen a4, bishop d7, rook f8, bishop f8. Rook c1 is slightly inaccurate. The computer prefers bishop b4. If bishop b4, bishop c6, bishop c6... Oh, we just win that. Oh, yeah. That... And if knight takes, then we just take on d7. Okay, well, rook c1 is also good. And if queen b6... Now if we do this, then bishop b4... Then if we take, then the bishop is defended. I mean, it's still winning, but it's less winning. If queen b6, the best move is rook b1. But also, we can just keep the tension with a move like h4. And there's basically nothing that black can do. Black just can't move. His position is completely frozen. So he goes h6, which allows bishop b4, and queen b4, which is the best move by far. And after knight b4, rook c7, bishop b5, rook b7, that sequence should make sense. I mean, this is just a simple skewer. Like, let's say knight c6, rook b5, we're up a whole rook, and this is game over. So, after the move rook takes b7, my opponent resigns. Pretty crushing victory. Pretty crushing victory. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see another video of me using this A3 Sicilian system, then check out the video appearing up here. And if you want to see the previous episodes of the speedrun, check out the playlist down here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in one of those videos.